Yeah.
So, by that point, who cares? Mia's dad, John Corbett, is some kind of underwater explorer who has found the opening to these new cave system. I keep calling it caves, but also it's a temple. I think it's a bit of both. It's like a temple built into caves. So we'll probably be interchanging, saying either one throughout the rest of the show. Deal with that. And he's found a shark tooth, gives it to Mia as a gift. Might come back later. Definitely does. And he wants the two girls to get to know each other because they both, in the opening 10 minutes, say, "She's not my sister." Because that's what we're dealing with here. We've seen these characters in many films before, which is fine. This isn't that kind of film. This isn't a big dramatic character development drama. This is you have archetypal characters, chuck them in a situation, see what happens. We're here for the shark kills. We're here for the tension and the thrills, not necessarily for the how are their relations going to be at the end of this film? It's like no. Well, I mean, they're gonna be fine. They're gonna grow together as sisters and form a bond. Right? Let's see some people get killed by sharks. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. That's what we came for.
Yeah. So John Corbett has arranged for this shark tourist trip for the two girls to go on. They blow that off and they see that the bully girl is also going to be on there, and they go with the two friends to this secluded place which just happens to be the opening to the cave that he's found, and they go exploring. So there's a platform with all the diving gear still in it. They borrow it. They just going to explore the opening cave. They go down. Nicole immediately becomes incredibly annoying when Alexa's kind of like, okay, just follow this is dangerous. Follow the rules. Do what I said. Oh, you've already jumped in. Okay. So just waiting any second. Actually, it took too long for Nicole to die, as far as I'm concerned.
I thought it was going to happen much sooner.
Yes. So they go down, they're exploring the cave, and Nicole separates from them. She thinks she's seen something, and she has seen something, and it's this fish. It's this blind, colourless fish that they call a Mexican tetra that's evolved to have heightened senses because it lives in the dark. And when they see it, Nicole... Have you seen Prometheus, Jazz?
Yeah.
Okay, so the bad guy from the Mission Impossible films is Sean Harris. When he's in Prometheus, he's like, he just wants to touch... No, not even him. It's the guy from... What's his face? Rafe Spall. He's like a biologist.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to touch the worm. I just kept thinking, don't touch the worm. The worm's going to kill you. Worm kills him. So in this one, Nicole sees this blind monster fish. She's like, I want to touch it. Like, what? Stop it. And the highlight of the film, the fish screams at her.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that.
Oh, I'm certain about it. It's not a thing.
I think it could have been as effective, if not more effective, to just have it rear up and like try to snap at her without the sound effect.
But I don't know if we should think that it actually screamed or if that is just like in the score, or something. But just the moment of this fish like lunging and screaming at her was incredible, and it understandably terrifies her because it's not something that nature should do. And so she backs into a column, does a full Rachel Weisz in The Mummy, knocks a bunch of things over, and silt goes all up in the air, and they see one of John Corbett's assistants is down there, immediately taken out by a shark. As soon as he appears, gone. It's like the bus from Final Station 2. It's just vroom, gone. Sorry, Final Station 1 even. It's like immediately he's there, shark, gone, dead. So they're all terrified, trying to get out. And
yeah. Well, I was thinking at first, like, oh, these girls had to go down here, and now these boys are going to get eaten by sharks. But in all likelihood, they probably would have been facing off against those sharks regardless, because I don't think it was the girls that let the sharks out.
No, because when they knock the statue over and it all goes silty everywhere, that's the first time that we see a shark, I think, like over the shoulder of one of the girls.
Mm-hmm.
Which, fantastic shot, terrifying.
Oh, yeah. I guess.
Because it's a blind shark, so it can't see them. She's facing the wrong way, so she can't see it. and it's like 28 minutes into the film, I think, around half an hour in. So we haven't seen sharks at this point. We know they're down there because there's a tooth, and it's this before that she's found Ben. So it's just it is coming out of nowhere. Like, oh my god, it's like it's in The Descent when they first see the weird golem creature in the background. So what was that? You're not quite sure because it just kind of swims past. If you're not paying attention, you might miss it.
Oh yeah.
It's a really very well done shot. So yeah, so they try and get out, and the shark is trying to fit through the little tunnel. Doesn't fit. It's ramming its way through, and it causes a cave in, and they can't get out the way they came in. They're stuck.
Very The Descent like.
Very The Descent, yes. And like towards the end of this, when they're trying to get out, when they get like real stuck in a crevice and got to take off their oxygen tanks, also very The Descent.
Yeah.
The most The Descent you can get, I think.
Similarly to the first movie, where a lot of things they mentioned are telegraphing later events, but before they go into the cave, it's Alexa, right? Yes, Alexa.
She's the one with the experience, yeah.
Yes, she's like, no, don't make a lot of movements because you'll get silt flying everywhere. And I was like, well, that's going to happen now. There's going to be silt all over the damn place.
Oh, and as they're swimming in, they look at, oh my god, look, there's a little air pocket right above us. They're like, yep, if you get stuck, you can breathe out of one of those. Like, that might be useful. I'll write that one down. Which, yeah, happens numerous times. Good, so they're stuck down here. Before he was killed, Ben mentioned that he had a guideline. Because, he's a sensible person who doesn't just go blindly into a cave. So they follow the guideline out. Well, they think they're going to follow it out. Somebody gets caught, and they just keep pulling on it. I'm like, stop pulling on it. Follow it. Find where it's caught. Otherwise, you're just going to, oh, yep, you ripped it. There we go. So frustrating. So yeah, they break the guideline, gone forever, never find it again, and then they die. Now, where this film, one of the kind of main differences for me between this one and the last one is it's less deep than the last one was, but a lot darker because they're inside. It's very murky. It can be quite hard to see what's going on at times, whereas the previous one was quite well lit given how deep they were.
Yes.
This is trapped under. The only light sources they've got are the torches, the flashlights. Again, similar to the Descent. So it fits with where they are. It's just a little frustrating from a film watching perspective of like everything's so dark, okay, which makes it more scary because the sharks could be anywhere. Yeah,
they do. I imagine that these sets, which also I was really hoping to see some more of how these sets were put together, but I couldn't really find much. But I imagine that the darkness helped disguise a bit of how these sets were functioning, and it probably allowed them a lot more wiggle room to make it feel like you really were in that cave. But I agree, you really can't make out the action quite as well, and with all the girls in very similar scuba outfits, like besides their sleeves, and not even all their sleeves were that specific, it was kind of hard to keep track of who was who.
Yeah, cause they've got these big face masks, but they do kind of distort the face a little bit. So it is difficult to. I mean, it's a kind of a multicultural cast. So, but because everything's kind of so dark and murky, you can't generally tell what you're looking at, really. So,
yeah.
So yes, it is difficult to tell. And they're all, as we've said, they're all quite thin characters. None of them are actors that we've spent a lot of time with, so it's hard to just pick up on voices or names or faces even. But yeah, they're such thin characters. It doesn't really matter who we're looking at. They're all kind of the same. So they follow the guideline. It's broken. Alexa, who's the experienced diver, she starts panicking, and if she's panicking, then everyone should be panicking because she's the one who knows what she's doing. But they find this pocket of air, which is stale. It's been down there for centuries. Who knows? And three of them hang out there. Whilst Mia, she can hear Roxette playing in the distance. She can hear the look. So she goes off to explore, thinking it's her dad. It's her dad's other assistant, whose name is Carl. That's Kylan Rambo. He's doing some underwater cutting or welding. Now, we've had a guest in the past, Kevin Culp, who has made it like a lockdown mission to watch every shark film he can come across. And his theory is if there is underwater welding, it's a bad film. Because whenever there's a fair few films with underwater worlding that aren't great. Jaws 3 has underwater worlding, which is a bad film that I enjoyed a great deal. So it's not well made film, but it's entertaining. And I would say this film is better than most with underwater worlding, but I could see the argument for people not liking this film.
Welding is not my forte, but I was very curious how realistic this portrayal was of sparks flying through the water. It didn't seem right to me. Between that and the music blaring, at first I thought that it was going to be a part of the cave that wasn't submerged. But it wasn't. So I don't quite understand that, but I don't know enough to refute it either.
Well, it's not sparking as much as other things might do. It's like a real concentrated bulge of light, and then it turns into bubbles. Mm-hmm. So I think it's maybe as realistic as they could show it. But this is another one of the most terrifying sequences in the film, where he's just there rocking out, getting his weld on, and there's like a shark kind of bobbing around in the background. Can't see him, but it can kind of sense him. He's obviously making a lot of heat. So I'm assuming the shark might be able to sense that and heading towards it.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just, he sees something in the distance, he's heading towards it, but the shark is behind him. Rips through him before Mia finds him, and she finds him dead. But then, her dad, he's also down there, he finds her, and he's like, what are you doing down here? Exploring, cave, etc.
Can you even imagine turning around and your daughter's there completely inexplicably?
I'd have many questions. Who are you? When did this happen?
Put yourself in John Corbett's shoes.
Because he thinks that she's on a tourist trip that he has paid for, somewhere at like the other end of these cave systems. And he's expecting his two assistants to be down there, both of whom are now dead, which news he takes quite well. Not only is she down there, but also your stepdaughter and their two friends also down there, and your whole day has changed. Like complete 180 on what your day was going to be. That's what it is now. So they're like, okay, we'll go get out, and then they need to get to where the other three are. They're out of range of the radio, and there's pillars in the way and stuff. You get a bit more of the 47 meters down connection of they have a radio, but they can't hear the other people from that scene. So they go and try and find them, and then kind of a jump scare of, well, very much a jump scare. There's a shark behind them, and they get a message saying, "It's behind you." And this is where they come up with the tactic of you bang stuff on the rocks and it attracts the shark. First annoyance of the film, where there are some sounds that will attract the shark, there are some sounds that will repel the shark.
Right.
They just kind of work out what it is somehow. Like banging your carabiner against a pillar will attract it, but the alarm thing they have, that'll send it away. Like, really? I feel like they're just going to head towards any noise.
Yeah, and they're totally cool with radio jams.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, maybe that's what attracted the shark in the first place, was these guys just rocking out down there.
So, at this part where Grant and Mia are on one side of the crevice and the three girls are on the other, I presented the question to Rob of how tempted would a father be in this situation to just get his daughter to safety and be like, I'm just going to leave those other girls behind, versus I'm going to risk my own daughter's life to try to save these other girls.
Well, I think, given that one of the other girls is his wife's daughter,
that does complicate things.
If he'd found Mia and Sasha and they're like, Alexa and Nicole, they're back there, I'd be tempted, like, okay, I'll get you two out first, then I'll come back. Definitely will come back. Let's go. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I have to believe most people would probably, stick around to save the other girls, but I could see someone being like, you know what? I gotta prioritize